One careless night, after a few too many drinks, I let something slip to my husband that I've been wishing I could take back ever since. That single moment has left our marriage hanging by a thread. To give some background, my husband and I met as teenagers while working at the same call center. Back then, there was no spark between us. He went off to college, and I stayed behind, keeping the job until I finished high school. 5 years later, our paths crossed again. This time, things clicked. We began dating, eventually got married, and now we're raising 2 children together. He's 27, I'm 25. Last fall, about 6 months after our second child was born, I started a new birth control pill that came with unexpected side effects. The biggest one was that I lost all interest in intimacy. My husband would try to initiate closeness, but I repeatedly turned him down. After 2 weeks of rejection, he stopped trying. A week later, I snapped at him, demanding to know why he had simply given up on being intimate with me. Not long after, we finally had our first real date night since the baby's arrival. We went to a bar near home, ordered drinks, and as the alcohol loosened me up, I made a confession I'll always regret. I told him that I felt guilty, as if I had betrayed him. Alarmed, he pressed me to explain, and under the influence, I blurted out a dream I'd had the week before. In the dream, a former co-worker from our call center days confessed his feelings for me, and I returned them. Instead of leaving it there, I made it worse. I pulled out my phone and began scrolling through that co-worker's social media, right in front of my husband. I pointed out little details, made comments, and even criticized the woman in one of his photos. Then, recklessly, I went on to describe a real moment that had happened years ago, after my husband had gone off to college. I told him how that coworker used to tease me when we worked together and how, once, he cornered me against a wall and admitted his attraction. I even described how thrilling it felt at the time and admitted I wished my husband could ignite that same passion in me. The next morning, reality hit. My husband was furious. Not only because of my drunken confessions, but also because I had been emotionally and physically distant for weeks, yet there I was, openly admiring another man's life online and reminiscing about old flings. When I awkwardly offered to be intimate with him that morning, as if to smooth things over, he lashed out. He pointed out that I had refused him for a month, yet the thought of someone else seemed to rekindle my interest. Looking back, I understand his anger. Especially since, back when we first met, he had quietly carried feelings for me but never acted on them. Over the past 6 months since that night, we've had fleeting moments of normalcy, but the shadow of what I said keeps resurfacing, sparking new arguments. He's become fixated on the idea that I only married him because he was successful, he finished college, secured a stable job. And the other man was no longer in the picture. He now fears that if the opportunity arose, I would betray him with that coworker. When he later asked me why I even brought that man up, I explained it wasn't about wanting him. That time in my life simply represented when I felt my best, confident, attractive, and alive. Back then, I was at my lowest weight and happiest. Over the years, I've gained about 75 pounds, and my husband now believes I only stayed with him out of resignation or unhappiness. To him, that old coworker symbolizes the version of me that was vibrant and desirable. Now, my husband has grown emotionally distant. He barely speaks to me, avoids physical affection, and we haven't been intimate in nearly 2 months. Even his bond with our children seems affected. I love him deeply, but he's convinced my heart is still tied to someone I last saw 8 years ago. He even told me once that he wished I had ended up with that man, so he wouldn't be enduring this pain now. I don't want our marriage to collapse, but I can't keep living in this tense silence. I want desperately to rebuild what we once had. But every time the subject comes up, he obsesses over how that other man saw a version of me that was fun, passionate, and carefree, while he has only known the side of me weighed down by responsibility, parenthood, bills, and a fading sex life. He's haunted by the thought that I showed more passion to someone else than I ever did to him. At one point, he snapped and asked if I thought that man was out there, scrolling through my social media, longing for the incredible woman I used to be, only to see what I look like now. Then he cut deep, saying that the man wouldn't even give me a second glance anymore. I've tried to explain over and over that my feelings for that coworker are long gone. What I said that night wasn't about him, it was about me. About how I once felt desirable and confident, qualities I've been struggling to find again. I've apologized more times than I can count, swearing that I'll make things right. For a while, my husband seems reassured, but then the doubts creep back in, and we're thrown into another argument. We've been together for 7 years, built a family with 2 children, and the idea of losing our marriage over this is unbearable.
I've done everything I can to prove my commitment.
I stopped bringing up the other man, remove him from my social media, and only talk about him when Eric insists. I even started working out with Eric, partly to improve my health but mostly to show him I'm serious about repairing what we have. Still, our physical relationship remains inconsistent, entirely dependent on whether he's caught in his spiral of suspicion.
During one fight, his words cut sharper than usual.
He threw my weight gain in my face, saying that the man I once mentioned wouldn't even give me a second glance now, not after how much I've changed. His comment burned, because I already carry the heavy awareness of how my body transformed through 2 pregnancies. In those moments of conflict, he fixates on every detail I ever admitted. That I once called the other man attractive. That he was taller, with dark hair. That he was my boss at the time, which I had confessed added to the excitement back then. I've explained countless times that those remarks were nothing more than nostalgia and poor judgment, that the man has been nothing but a faded memory since the day Eric and I became serious. But even something as small as me liking a post on that man's profile sparked another fight. And when, foolishly, I told Eric about having another dream involving him, the wound only deepened. Now, Eric keeps pressing me with the same painful questions. Do I still fantasize about him?
Do I still find him attractive?
I've assured him again and again that my heart belongs only to him, but the reassurance never seems to stick. No matter how much I try, it feels like nothing will ever be enough. I just want us to find our way back to the love we had before all of this. One night, an argument escalated until I found myself standing rigid with my arms crossed, my voice edged with frustration. So now you're making this about me? I snapped. Eric sank into a chair, shoulders heavy, his face showing pure exhaustion. He twisted the cap off a water bottle, took a slow sip, and said, "Imagine needing to disappear for a whole day just to have peace.
Just picture that."
A lump rose in my throat, but I tried not to let it show. My voice wavered as I shot back, "Don't you dare flip this around on me. I see what you're doing, playing the victim to make me feel guilty." He leaned back, his expression unreadable, his tone steady but cutting. "All these years, I thought my role was to shield you from life's pressures. I never thought I'd need to be shielded from you." The silence that followed was thick, almost suffocating. I couldn't find words. Finally, with a shaky voice, I asked, "Are you finished?" Eric nodded, rising slowly, his movements weighed down with fatigue.
"Yeah.
I'm done." Without another word, he walked to the bedroom, leaving me frozen, his words echoing in my head like a cruel refrain. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in the dark, scrolling aimlessly through my phone for distraction. A video popped up of a relationship expert speaking solemnly about men's silence. "Men carry their burdens quietly," he said.
"They don't ask for help. They withdraw."
I rolled my eyes and scrolled past, but his words stuck like an unwelcome echo.
By morning, Eric was gone. His car wasn't in the driveway.
No note, no text, nothing. My chest tightened as I typed out a message, leaving without a word. "Real mature, Eric." I hit send and waited, but no reply came. The kids' voices filled the house as they got ready for school. Logan, our 6-year-old, tugged at my sleeve. "Mommy, can you tie my shoes?" he asked softly. His quiet patience pierced me. "Not now, Logan," I snapped, barely looking at him. From the other room, Emma, our 9-year-old, wailed, "I can't find my tablet." "Emma, if you keep crying about that tablet, I'm going to lose it," I shouted, my tone sharper than I meant. Logan just stood there, silent, his wide eyes, so much like Eric's, watching me. The look stirred guilt deep inside. I exhaled hard and knelt to tie his shoes. By early afternoon, Eric finally responded, "I'll be home later. Don't wait up." My heart raced as I read it. I called him immediately. When he answered, his voice was cold and distant. "What's that supposed to mean?" I demanded. "Don't wait up." "It means what it says," he replied flatly, hanging up before I could say another word. That evening, he came home late, much later than usual. His movements were slow, deliberate. He set his keys on the counter, draped his jacket over a chair, all in silence. I stood there watching, anger simmering. His glance toward me carried no anger, no weariness, just emptiness. "Done sulking?" I asked, my tone harsher than intended. He let out a long sigh, heavy and low. I'm tired, Claire.
Something in his voice made my chest tighten.
It wasn't the kind of tired that sleep could fix. I folded my arms, refusing to soften. Yeah, well, I'm tired too. You think this is easy for me?
But he didn't bite. No sharp retort, no bitterness. He just looked at me, his gaze steady and unsettling. That's the problem, he said quietly. I don't think you even know what you want.
But I do now.
His words hit like a precise blow.
What's that supposed to mean? I asked, desperation leaking into my voice.
He didn't answer.